Hi, everyone. Welcome back to an episode of On The Sidelines. My name is Matthew Limberly,
And I'm Benedict Rhodes.
and today we're going to be doing a prediction video for the MLB 2020 season.
In this video, we'll be picking some teams to watch out for this season, um, and picking which teams we think will make it out of each league and even a World Series winner. But before we do that, Matthew, do you want to quickly remind people of the format for this 2020 season?
Sure. So, as the players and the union, both unions agreed to a couple of weeks ago, the season is going to be 60 games. Of course, each team is going to play their rivals in their respective divisions. 10 games against each team. So, in the say example, like for the Jays, they'll play Yankees 10 times, Baltimore 10 times, Boston 10 times, and then Tampa Bay 10 times. And then for the other 20 games for each team, they're going to be playing their interleague rivals. So for a team in the AL East, we'll be playing a team in the NL East, and then etc. And then for the postseason, I should say it's going to be regular format, 10 teams.
And what do you think of the format? Just quickly, do you like it? Do you not like it? And what sort of things do you like and not like?
Well, I mean, it's going to be more. It's going to be different, of course, than the regular 162 game season, which is more like a marathon. But now this is going to be basically a sprint to the finish, basically. So I think this may give us a chance to see a team that no one thought would make the playoffs actually like make the playoffs, like maybe like get in the wild card spot or something like that. So I think it's going to be exciting in that way. What about you? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I agree. I kind of like that shortened season. I think baseball season's a pretty good length, even though it's a bit long. But I think just as a one-off, like a quick sprint to the finish, as you mentioned, is going to be exciting. I think. Um, like you said, maybe we'll see a team that we thought might be really bad, maybe even win a division or sneak into a wild card spot. So I think that'll be pretty exciting to see.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so do you want to
Uh,
introduce our teams that?
Yeah, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna start off by picking two teams in each conference or each league to look out for. So Matthew, do you want to start with your first American League team?
Sure, yeah. So the first AL team that I'm looking out for is the Tampa Bay Rays. Of course, last year they made the wild card spot, or they had a wild card spot, and they played the Oakland A's. And of course, they won in Oakland. And then leading into the series against the Astros in the ALDS, I don't think they were really given a chance to actually win that series, but they actually gave the Astros 5 games to actually win that series. So I think it shows that they're a pretty competitive team, and I think that this year in a 60 game season, they have a chance to actually like make some noise. They have starting pitchers like Charlie Morton, Blake Snell, for example, and they also have a couple of great players hitters on their team too. So I think that looking at the Rays and knowing about the shortened season, I think that's a team to look out for in the AL. And what about you? What's your first AL team to look out for?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay in the same division. I'm gonna go with the New York Yankees. I think on paper they're one of, if not the best team in MLB, or certainly near the top of that list. And if the season had started when it was supposed to a few months ago, I might not have said the same team because they had a lot of injuries coming out of end of last season and the sort of beginning of this year, like Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge, James Paxton, for example, three pretty major contributors to that team, who all would have missed the start of the season. So if they're all healthy and they're all ready to go, which it seems like they will be, um, I think this team is going to be very good. Hit a lot of home runs, of course, with those players I just mentioned, Stanton and Judge. Um, I think they're going to be a dangerous team, and also the pitching. Like Luis Severino's not going to be playing this season, I believe, because of a Tommy John injury again. I think, but they do have Garrett Cole, who's going to be incredible for them this season if he is on form. So I think the Yankees are probably the most dangerous team in the league, or definitely in the American League.
Okay, sounds good. So, and also the second team that I have for in the AL to look out for is the Astros. Of course, the whole cheating scandal with them is still. I mean, they don't really care about that much, it seems, but of course, it's still around. Like people aren't gonna treat them as well as they used to be. So maybe we might see some pitchers hitting players or something like that, or maybe a brawl might commence or something like that. Maybe something crazy might happen to them. But I think I think just in general they still have great talent on their team, and although I mean not all of us like them as a team, I think they still have a great talent, especially pitchers like Zach Greinke, who I think they just added this off season. Of course, they still have Justin Verlander. They don't have Garrett Cole anymore, which is a downside for them. But yeah, they still can compete, and of course, they still have uh, hitters like Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve, Michael Brantley, etc. So they're still a deep team. But yeah, I think with the whole scandal that like still going, still in their heads, I think that it'll be interesting to see how they perform as a team this season, especially with no fans who are gonna like heckle them in a sense.
Yeah, my second American League team. I don't think we're gonna be looking at them as a World Series contender, but I think they have the ability to at least challenge. I think they're gonna win their division. I think they're gonna have probably challenge for the American League championship series. Like I think they'll go pretty deep. But I've gone with the Minnesota Twins. Last season, they set a new MLB record with 317 home runs, which is obviously incredible. And then they added to that. They signed Josh Donaldson, former American League MVP here in Toronto with the Blue Jays. Um, so their team looks like it's gotten better on the field at least. Um, the problem I think with the Minnesota Twins that's going to hold them back from being a World Series contender is the pitching rotation. They don't have the strongest rotation. They did add Kenta Maeda from the Dodgers, so uh, again they'll be good. I just don't know if they're World Series quality just yet. But as you talked off the top of the episode, like in a sprint season, if they just hit a ton of home runs and sort of have their offense lead them, I think they could be a very very good team.
Okay, and I guess we'll now move on to the NL for our two NL teams to look out for. So Ben, who's your first team?
Yeah, I think if the Yankees aren't going to win this World Series, the team I think who probably is the best shot on paper at least is the LA Dodgers. So I've gone with them as my first National League team. Um, they significantly improved their team this offseason. The main sort of trade or main acquisition, I guess, was acquiring Mookie Betts from the Boston Red Sox, who is an MVP caliber player, and adding him to a lineup of multiple MVP quality players is kind of a scary thought for other National League teams, I think. And their pitching staff as well is quite impressive. They did lose David Price, who opted out of the season due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but some of the pitchers still on the roster are like Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler, Alex Wood, Julio Urias. Like there's some very good pitchers on this team. And like I said, like adding Mookie Betts to a team that already includes Cody Bellinger and a number of other All-Star caliber players, that team is going to be very, very dangerous. And uh, as we'll see a bit later in this episode, I think they're going to go pretty deep into the playoffs, if at least. How about you? Who's your first National League team?
Okay, so the first team that I'm going with is the last year's World Series champions, the Nationals, the Washington Nationals. Um, I know that a thing probably well, mostly in other leagues, but I think in baseball, like also there's the championship hangover sort of thing, which may not give them a shot to win it, but that they still have the Nationals still have a lot of talent on their team. They still have Max Scherzer, they still have Strasburg, Patrick Corbin, a lot of great pitchers on their team that can lead them back to last season's success. And looking at their hitters too, they have Howie Kendrick, who hit that grand slam in the NLDS against the Dodgers in Game 5, which was just showed how he can play in the postseason. And They also have the young hitter Juan Soto. I think he's in his early 20s. I can't remember his actual age, but he's pretty young. And just seeing his performance last year in the World Series against the Astros shows that he can probably do it again this year. So I think that it'll be interesting to see what the Nationals will do this year and how far they'll go. Um, but I think that they'll end up winning their division again, the NL East. But yeah, I think that will be an interesting team to look out for, especially uh, a team who just won the World Series last year.
Yeah, I think before I mention my second pick for a National League team, I will just kind of do a shameless plug here for the video we did maybe a month ago now, um, creating our own MLB expansion teams. Because you mentioned Juan Soto there. I know you and our guest for that video, Nick, both wanted Juan Soto um, as their sort of young player. If you could pick any young player on your team, and the team I'm about to pick also has my choice for the young player, which was Ronald Acuna Jr. Actually, I can't remember if it was my pick or not, actually, but no one of us picked him. I can't remember now. It's been so long. Anyway, my pick for my second National League team is the Atlanta Braves. They have an incredible team. They've a couple players have opted out, I believe. Nick Markakis was one of them. And they've had a few positive COVID tests, including Freddie Freeman, first All-Star first baseman. But I think this Atlanta team is young and won't slow down the same way another team might. I think they can just play at full energy for the entire 60-game season and through the playoffs. And they have a lot of MVP and All-Star level talents like I mentioned Ronald Acuna Jr., Marcelo Zuna, Ozzy Albies, and others. I think I heard the other day as well, if I'm not mistaken, that Yasiel Puig was rumored to be signing a deal with them. Um, so I think if the Braves make a couple more changes to the roster if possible, that's not much time left. If they kind of sort of fine tune their team a little bit more, I think they could be kind of like the Twins. Maybe not a World Series candidate just yet, but definitely one of the strongest teams in the league.
Yeah, well, I was just going to mention about. I think you mentioned Yasiel Puig. I think if I'm not wrong, he had that positive COVID test, but I don't know for sure if he's signing with the Braves. If
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm wrong or not, but yeah, I think just to mention that.
yeah,
But
it wasn't confirmed, and I think that maybe the positive COVID test, if that was confirmed, might affect that signing, of course. But yeah, I think it's just a rumor more than anything. But uh, I think it'd be a good fit, especially if Nick Markakis is opt out. Yasiel Puig is more than a good replacement for him. We'll just have to wait and see.
okay, so well, the second team that or I should like the team that I'm choosing, the second team in the NL is the Cardinals, the St. Louis Cardinals. Um, Last year they did win the NL Central, um, and they did make it to the end. Of course, they made it to the NLDS because they won the division, but it they didn't. They really looked horrible in that series against Washington. I think they got swept if I'm not wrong. Like there was some pretty bad games from their starting pitching, and no one was really getting any hits for them, so that really put a down, put a bad a bad like just made it bad for them basically. But I think this year it will be interesting to see how they fare against teams from the division because of course as we know that there's still the Cubs, their rival that they're fighting with, the Brewers of course too, and actually, the Cincinnati Reds have been a team that people have been talking about with some of their new divisions, so or additions, I should say. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how the Cardinals fare in their division in the NL Central. They still have some a pitcher like Flaherty, I think his name is, who can lead them somewhere, and also Andrew Miller, and of course they have their acquisition Paul Goldschmidt from the Diamondbacks, Matt Carpenter, Paul DeJong. So they still have some great hitters. I don't think they'll go far in the playoffs, but yeah, I think that they're a team to look out for.
And if you had to pick one team to come out of the American League, we'll do each conference, but we'll start with the American League. If you had to pick one team, who do you think would be coming out of the American League and going into that World Series?
Well, I think for me it's going to be the Yankees coming out of the AL. I know that I think they're like the World Series favorite this year, and undoubtedly, yeah, they should be because of their hitting core and pitching and everything. Um, I think I think they this year might be better for them than last or the past couple of years, I should say, especially against like the Astros because they added a pitcher like Garrett Cole who can, say if they're in a Game 7 situation and they need Garrett Cole to go out there, I think that will give them a better shot to win the World Series. But yeah, I think undoubtedly the Yankees, I think, in my opinion, would be coming out of the AL.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I think just the potential they have, especially now that a lot of their players are seemingly going to be ready for opening day, like the injured players who are Carlos Stanton, Aaron Judge, and James Paxton. I think that's all. Not only is that going to be huge for them on the field, but it's also a confidence booster knowing that these guys are back. Uh, Garrett Cole, as well as I mentioned earlier, was a huge addition to that team. He had a huge contract as well, so he better live up to his expectations. I think. Um, I think this Yankees team is going to be very, very good, and again, especially in a 60-game season, as we've mentioned a couple of times, like if they get off to a hot start, they might just ride that for a significant chunk of the season.
Yeah, for sure. And what about in the NL? Who's your team that's going to come out of the NL?
Yeah, we kind of mentioned it earlier as well. I think it's going to be the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think their team is just much better than any other team, not named the New York Yankees at least. um, the Mookie Betts signing was huge, or trade rather was huge. Um, as I said earlier, losing David Price is not ideal, of course, but I think you can do about that now. I think if they get off to a good start, they're going to be a very very good team, and in a shortened season, I think they might just run away with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was gonna say like I know I mentioned before about the championship hangover from the Nationals, but I think since they've had that experience, and I think with the unique season, I think we might. I'm gonna see them. Well, I'm predicting that they'll come out of the NL again. Um, and yeah, I think their starting pitching will bring them far, and also their hitters that we mentioned, Juan Soto, Howie Kendrick, and a couple others too. I think it's just noticing from last year, it was great to see how they've done without Bryce Harper. It was sort of like a kick in the face to Harper, like saying like you left for the wrong team basically. And yeah, I think that they'll uh, they'll be successful again and make it to the World Series, even though I mentioned the championship hangover thing already.
And speaking of Bryce Harper, I saw a highlight the other day on Sports Center. I think he had a long bomb off one of the Nationals pitchers in the preseason game. So he looks fired up and he looks really good. So yeah, neither of us mentioned the Phillies, but they're also a candidate, I think, to if Bryce Harper can get back to the level he's sort of supposed to, I guess if that's the right word, be at, then I think the Phillies are probably another team because of lump in there.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Now we're gonna move on to our World Series winner. Ben, who are you predicting to win the World Series this year?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not come as a surprise, but I think I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think it's going to be they're going to if they can get over their playoff woes they've had over the last few years, where they've just sort of choked every year in the playoffs. Um, Although 2017 obviously wasn't their fault, as we can now learn after the Astro scandal. But I think if they can get over their playoff struggles and Clayton Kershaw can perform in the playoffs, I think they're going to be a very good team, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them lift that trophy at the end of the year. What about you?
Yeah, well, the World Series winner that I'm going with is the Yankees. I did mention that coming up that I would say that I said that the Yankees would come out of the AL and the Nationals would come out of the NL. I also just want to mention that that's going to be the actual first game of the season, so It'll be a great game to watch, especially like which I think will be the World Series series, I should say. But yeah, I think in the end the Yankees are gonna win over the Nationals for my prediction. And as we mentioned before, like undoubtedly the Bronx Bombers, their starting pitching, everything from the Yankees is just they just have enough now to win the World Series. I think that they have a great chance this year to win it, and of course, they were kind of robbed of the an AL pennant a couple of years ago, and I think last year also too, in a way you could say. But but yeah, I think that this year that they'll win the World Series. That's who I'm predicting.
And the MLB season, I don't think we've mentioned opening day yet. It's going to be this Friday, I believe. July
Thursday
20
actually.
Thursday, sorry,
Yeah,
July 23rd. Washington Nationals, New York Yankees kicking things off. 7 p.m. Eastern time. That's gonna be a great game. Who do you think's gonna win that one? We both mentioned those are two of the teams we mentioned today.
yeah. I think I think the Yankees will win that first game. It's going to be a great. Also, just wanted to mention it's going to be a great matchup too of pitchers because you're going to have
Yeah,
Max Scherzer, Garrett Cole,
that's
the
gonna be
first
incredible.
game of the year, which will bring a lot of hype to the season. So yeah, that will be a great way to uh, to kick off the year.
And a few days later, of course, the matchup I think people wanted to have in the stadiums, of course, but uh, July 28th and 29th, we have the LA Dodgers against the Houston Astros. um, we won't get too far into this, of course, but would you prefer to see those games in the stadiums, Matthew, and let the fans in LA sort of let the booze rain down on the Astros?
Well, if there was fans, I would. I think the Dodgers. I think the Astros are going to travel back to LA because they're going to play. I think it's like a two-game split.
Yeah.
But if I'm not wrong, but yeah, but I think it would be, of course, if this is a normal year, like it would be great to see this game in LA and like seeing the Dodgers fans boo them. But yeah, I think it would be, but of course, it's not a normal year, so unfortunately, we won't be able to have that.
Yeah, and yeah, the season will wrap up in sort of late September. We'll have a few interesting series at the end of the season as well, including the Angels and Dodgers and a few others. Astros and Rangers, of course, as well. But for now, this Thursday, first game of the season, Matthew will definitely keep people updated on that season.
For sure, definitely.
So thank you for watching our MLB prediction video. My name is Benedict Rhodes,
I'm Matthew Limbruni.
and thanks for watching On The Sidelines, and we'll see you next time.